One of my favorite watches that I've looked at in the last year is the WindSeeker from Tuseno. To me, it fills a similar role to something like the Omega Aquaterra would, which is one of my dream watches, kind of one of my grails. But after getting the WindSeeker into review, I just loved the personality that it had. I loved the build quality, everything about it. And I love the cost as well, to the point that I don't really have much of a desire to pick up an Aquaterra anymore. Not that I would ever spend that much on a watch anyways, but we're getting off the point. The point is that Tuseno has come out with a new version of the WindSeeker, and this is one of the things that I love from micro brands, is that they're always really quick to respond to customer and reviewer critiques. The changes are somewhat small, but they go a long way in refining the watch. So take a look and see if you can spot them. Hey guys, welcome back to Just the Watch. My name's Dave. I live in Japan and I love to collect affordable watches. And again, we're looking at one of my favorite watches today in the Tuseno WindSeeker. Now, since I've already done a full review of the version 1, if you're interested in picking up the WindSeeker, I definitely recommend you check out that first. This video is only going to cover the changes to the version 2. I'll give you a little bit of an overview of it, but that's what I want to focus on here. The WindSeeker is what you would generally classify as a sports watch or a go anywhere, do anything sort of watch. In terms of design and functionality, it fills a similar role to watches like the Omega Aquaterra or the Rolex Datejust, but it does so with its own very fresh, clean, original design language. The dial takes inspiration from the decks found on sailing yachts, featuring very pleasing curved lines that to me also evoke the image of a globe and also evokes feelings of traveling around the world. The high level of water resistance combined with modest proportions and an elegant style make this a watch that is just as appropriate for a dip in the Pacific as it would be at a more formal event requiring you to wear a suit and tie. And I absolutely love this watch. This is one of my favorite watches in my collection. It's one that I always enjoy wearing and find so many occasions to reach for it. But when I reviewed the version 1, there were two things that jumped out at me as areas that could use improvement. The version 1 featured minute numerals that were etched into the metal rehaut. They were pretty difficult to read because the etching was so small, and the etching was also very thin, so it just kind of looked like little scratches on the rehaut rather than something that really added to the design, in my opinion. The other problem was with the bracelet, which, while excellent, featured a slim butterfly clasp that featured no micro adjustments, and there were also no half links included with it as well, which kind of made it a crapshoot whether or not you're going to be able to get a good fit with that bracelet. And after I posted the review, there was one additional complaint that many people had in the comments that I'll bring up as well, and that was that people did not like the circular date at 6 o'clock. Personally, I did. I think the circular date fits with the kind of circular theme of the watch. There's a lot of circles that are worked into the design, and I think it just is a nice match there. But it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And I'm bringing those three specific complaints up because they've all been addressed in the version 2 of the WindSeeker, and there's actually been a fourth change as well that I think is also very welcome. On the version 2, they've cleaned up the rehaut and just completely gotten rid of those 60-minute markers, and I think it does look a lot more clean and just a lot more stylish. And while they retained that slim butterfly clasp that didn't have micro adjustments, they did add half links to the bracelet, which is going to make it a lot easier to get a good fit on that bracelet. I think many people are still going to wish that they would have switched to a dive style clasp that includes micro adjusts to allow more easier accommodation for wrist size changes. But honestly, I think that a butterfly clasp like this really suits the design of this watch. It looks and feels great. And because the watch is pretty well balanced, I don't feel like it moves around too much, even if you do have to adjust it a little bit looser. It's very common to see a butterfly clasp like this on a lot of watches. Many people view this as a positive thing. It's really just a matter of personal preference. And I think Tuseno is doing as much as you could hope for by including these half links now on the bracelet. The third update is in regards to the date. While they retained that circular date window, they've switched from using a white background to a color-matched date wheel. This makes the date much better integrated into the design of the watch. It's not going to be nearly as noticeable before. And even though I didn't have a problem with the white background on the date wheel, I do think this is an improvement to the overall look, and I like the change here. One thing to note though is that that date is still pretty small, so it is going to be a little bit difficult to read, and I think even a little bit more difficult now that there's less contrast because of the color-matched date wheel than before. but overall, I think it's a good change. The fourth change that they've made is a flat out upgrade, and that's with the Lume, so I was really excited to see this as well. The version 1 featured a pretty decent application of Swiss Superluminova BGW9. On my tests, it came out with a score of 7, which is pretty good for a sports watch. Not outstanding, but I was more than happy with the level of performance to the Lume on the version 1. But I guess they decided good wasn't good enough and they wanted to try for something better. They've upgraded the formula here to the grade A version of BGW9, which is supposed to last much longer. Unfortunately, the watch that I have in for review is a prototype that does not feature this change yet, so I can't actually run this through the test to see what the performance increase is. But if it gets better than a 7 like the version 1 did, which I assume it easily will, then that's going to be a very good level of Lume for a sports watch like this. All in all, I love to see how quick Tiseno was to address these concerns, and they've taken what was already probably my favorite watch that I've reviewed this year and pretty much made it perfect by addressing all of the complaints that I had about it. So if you waited on the version 1, now is a great time to pick up the version 2, especially because Tiseno is running a pretty significant pre-order sale right now. The full retail price of this watch is going to be $699. However, if you pre-order it before July 11th, you'll be able to pick it up for $599. That's $100 off. And Tiseno will additionally throw in a free rubber strap. After July 11th, that pre-order price will jump up to $649, still giving you that free rubber strap. And once the watches are in stock, those pre-order prices will cease and will switch over to the regular price of $699. And I do think that at any of those price points, this watch is well worth it. If you want to see why, again, I recommend that you go back and watch the full review of the version 1 to get a really in-depth look at this watch. All right, guys, kind of a quick video today. Let me know what you think. If these changes are enough to sway you in favor of picking up the WindSeeker, if you were one of the guys who passed on it last time, I'll leave a link to them down below. But that'll wrap it up for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye.